All right, well, hello and welcome. It is the Kodiak Broncos Podcast, and today our schedule has been leaked, so it is time for me to talk about the entire thing game by game and give you all my analysis and predictions heading into the next year. But before we get into it, I just want to say leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. You always wait till the end. Hopefully, I've earned it. And yeah, so we have no time to waste. This one's going to be a long one. Kick back, relax, grab your favorite beverage, and let's talk about it. So, this one was posted by Carson, which was Broncos 4-6. Many NFL outlets have leaked our schedule, but I decided to show a screenshot from one of our very own, so make sure you're following him if you're not already. Either way, yeah, that's there if you guys want to look over it. I'm not going to really read down the line because you guys can read, but if there's anything that sticks out to you, let me know in the comment section. But the one thing that stuck out to me is that, okay, you see, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse, but okay, so we have this stretch kind of all intertwines with one another. So we have the Bengals on Monday Night Football, and then we fly to play the Eagles, and then from there we're gonna fly instantly to play the Jets in London. But after that, 4 out of our 5 games are home. So we have the Giants, the Cowboys, the Raiders, and the Chiefs. And by the way, we get the Chiefs on a mini bye. But also, this away game is not far at all. So we get you look at this, we get a really long time to pretty much just chill until we have to play Washington and have to take another long flight as well. Oh, sorry. But regardless, yeah. So the schedule looks pretty good. Now it's time to talk about it game by game. So week 1 is reported to be against the Tennessee Titans. It is Cam Ward's NFL debut. And hey, Rook, welcome to the NFL. Hopefully we can give Cam Ward his welcome to the NFL trial by fire moments as well during this game. But regardless, I'm expecting this to be a pretty easy win. Like, even all the rookie quarterbacks that have come in and had good rookie seasons, they haven't hit the ground running. They kind of struggled early on. Like, for example, CJ Stroud, week 1, 2023 against Baltimore. I remember he didn't really have that good of a game. Knicks against Seattle last year was a little ugly. And I can't remember who Daniels played against. I think Tampa. But regardless, like, all these rookies, even if they've had a good rookie year, they have not really hit the ground running. And with Cam Ward, this is probably the best draw that we could have gotten week 1 because Tennessee went 2-15 last year. And if you can't take care of business against the team who literally earned the first overall pick, then it might be a long season. It might be a sign of things to come. But I think we will. I think we will. Our offense should have a field day. I think Denard Wilson is the Tennessee defensive coordinator. Did a good job with what he had to work with last year. But to be completely honest, like, I don't know, we just outmatched them in pretty much all 3 phases of the game. So our offense should have a field day. This is not a tough defensive matchup, especially because our defensive line, who led the NFL with 63 sacks, is going up against a porous Titans offensive line. And, our weapons on the defensive side of the ball, I'm talking about our secondary specifically, they have Calvin Ridley, they have Nick Westbrook-Ikine. They did add some nice pieces like Gunnar Helm. They do have a Chigozie Okonkwo. They added Alec Manor as well. The one thing I will say Tennessee might be able to get an edge here is Pollard and Spears against our linebackers because Greenlaw is obviously off a long time not playing in the NFL, and Alex Singleton and Drew Sanders, we'll see who it is. We'll see. They're just a huge wild card in general. So if they want to eke out a win, it's going to have to get ugly. They're going to have to play a possession-based game. But early in the season tends to favor defense over offense, especially for a guy who I think is playing in his first NFL game as a quarterback. So yeah, my prediction is double-digit win. Like, we're going to be heavy favorites, and we should take care of business. We're going to be at least a touchdown favorite. So that just tells you that you should take care of business as well. Week 2 against the Indianapolis Colts. So whether it's Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones, my predicted outcome does not change in this game whatsoever. We played terribly against them this past year, and guess what? We still won by 18 points. Now, I just want to give a huge mile high salute to Jonathan Taylor because you dropped that ball. And to be completely honest, I don't know if the Broncos have the season that they did and go on the run they did if Jonathan Taylor doesn't drop the ball. I don't even know if they win that game, but I'm expecting another win. I'm expecting another win because the Colts offensively have been a little messy over the past 2 years. And now that our defense is really humming along, now that, the things they were able to exploit in our first matchup was the fact that we, A, came out slow, but B, didn't really have a lot of talent over the middle of the field. Like, I remember 3rd and 10, Colts first drive of the game. Stadium's going crazy. Loudest I've heard it since the Manning years because we had such an important matchup for them against them last December to determine playoff seeding. And I see Josh Downs over the middle of the field burning PJ Locke for a 25-yard gain. So Anthony Richardson still went like 14 for 38 passing that game or something like that. And we still had a bunch of, really nice turnovers like the Benito pick six. Marvin Mims ran one back to give us like a 10-yard to put us in the red zone. But I think we're going to stifle their offense. I think even if the offense is not fully up to speed yet for us, I think we're going to stifle them. The one concern I do have is Jonathan Taylor because physical teams can run the ball down our throat, but oh well. I think we've got this in the bag as well. We tend to play dumb games against the Colts. Our teams seemingly forget how to play football whenever we match up against them, but I just think we're better than they are, and that's what I think the deciding factor is there. Week 3 against the Chargers, so this team just matches up with us so well, and their strong draft only added to that. So not only do we have to try to tackle Najee Harris, now we have to try to tackle Omarion Hampton. And like I said, we struggled against physical offensive lines last year. So with the Chargers, who just added 6'8", 360-pound Mekhi Becton, and obviously you have Slater, it's going to be a really, really tough matchup for us to go into LA and try to win, especially early on in the season. And last year, one thing they did so well, even without J.K. Dobbins, was they were able to exploit our weaknesses. They were able to, pick on P.J. Locke. They were able to pick on Sternad, pick on Barton in all 3 of the games that we played in. But guess what? Once again, we replaced them with Greenlaw and Hufanga, and yeah, I'm expecting a lot better play from those positions as well. Once again, the Chargers were very tactically sound in both games, and in the first game last year, Patrick Surtain did leave because he got hurt on the first play of the game. But to be completely honest, I don't know, the Chargers, they're just going to be a tough out for us. We got completely run over against Gus Edwards and Hassan Haskins last year, so now it gets a little bit tougher with Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton. So I'm expecting us to just not win this game. The Chargers, they will be the toughest team for us to beat in the division. And if I'm wrong and we go 3-0 and we can start off the season 3-0, then fantastic. But to be completely honest, I'm just not expecting that. I'm not expecting that at all. I think the Chargers do edge us out in this one. I think we just won't be able to match the Harbaugh style of football. All right, week 4 against the Bengals on Monday Night Football. So this is not a revenge game per se. I mean, it might be for Cincinnati considering, we knocked them out and we took their playoff spot instead. We were the 7th seed and they did not make it in last year. But you already know that after the Marvin Mims miracle, the entire building was disgusted that we were not able to pull this out last year. And it was due to a number of reasons. First of all, our punting game in overtime, awful. Absolutely atrocious. But also, our offense in overtime completely went limp. You had 2 chances to put the dagger in them, and you went 3 and out both times. So, against the Bengals defense that was so inexcusably clutch last year, that just can't happen. That just can't happen again. But here's my thinking. My thinking is that, we hadn't had a primetime game until now, with this schedule. This is our first primetime game. And my hunch is that RJ Harvey shows the entire national landscape who he is. I think he's going to have a breakout game. I think he's going to have a breakout game, especially because, we do very, very well up front against the, defensive lines that are undermanned. And Trey Hendrickson, it remains to be seen what happens with that. Now, if he is not playing, then, more power to us, but I hope he does play. I hope the Bengals get that figured out. But this will be the true test. This will be a true test to see how far our defensive and special teams additions can take us compared to last year, because the reason we lost that game was because of, all 3 phases failed. Offense failed in overtime. Defense failed, when they had the chances to take advantage and capitalize on certain opportunities. But special teams failed us as well last year. So my prediction, I think we take it. I know the Burrow Bengals in September, they start out pretty poor, but then they kind of ramped up towards the end of September. But listen, the equalizer here is that we're at home and we have a healthy Riley Moss. That's why I think that we will be able to pull this one out. And obviously, don't underestimate the addition of Jahdae Barron being able to keep up with the Cincinnati Bengals wide receivers this time. Week 5 against the Philadelphia Eagles. So, listen, my hopes just aren't high for this one. Here's why. So we have a short week after the Bengals Monday Night Football, and I could easily see the Broncos being like, all right, whatever. Just worry about London. We'll, whatever, again, in this game, we'll show up, but we'll literally just go onto the team flight an hour after the game ends. And this will be more of a test for our offense and our offensive line above all else. So this is just going to be, how do you fare against Jalen Carter? How do you fare against Jordan Davis? How do you fare against Nolan Smith? How do you fare against Hunt? How do you fare against all these guys that the Philadelphia Eagles can just rotate and come at you in waves with? And if the second level of our defense can legitimately contain Saquon, we've got a shot. I know I said we struggled against physical offensive lines last year, but, it remains to be seen. Will we be able to, fix those issues that we had up front last year when the personnel is largely the same? I mean, will we put Savion Jones at the edge position to avoid us getting run over? But, with Locke and Sternad and Barton being out the door, I think that the second level not being able to pull their weight in run support, I think that will come to light this year, and I think we'll be much better in that regard. I don't think we're going to get absolutely lambasted on the ground like we got against Buffalo and Baltimore, but oh well. We've got a shot if we can contain Saquon, but yeah, once again, I expect this to be a throwaway game. Like, the final score won't look good, and once this does happen during the season, don't overthink it. I'm going to say this. I'm going to come on my channel and say this when it does happen, but, if we lose 38-10, don't overthink it. Because then we have the Jets. Then we have the Jets in London. And one thing I do want to say is that I love early kickoff games, mainly because not even when the Broncos are playing specifically, but there's just nothing worse than waking up on a Sunday and having to wait like 3 or 4 hours for football to even start. So with a game, it doesn't even have to be us specifically, with a game on, that makes your quality of life improve so much more. That being said, it is the Denver Broncos now. So it's time to see how this offense travels against a very physical Jets defense, now coached by Sean Payton's boy, Aaron Glenn. And Sean Payton had a lot of great things to say about Aaron Glenn. He said that he, had a bright future. Obviously, Dan Campbell is a part of the Sean Payton tree, so he did have some connections there as well. But I'm just looking forward to see what Sean Payton has schemed up against his former protege. And overall, Justin Fields, he's just not a guy who strikes fear in the heart of me. I know they have Breece Hall, but Breece Hall kind of regressed this past year. Garrett Wilson as well as somebody who they do have. And guess what? Their offensive line is much improved. And obviously they drafted Membu, 7th overall or whatever it was. But, once again, the Jets, they're just still in one of those teams that's retooling in a sense. And even if they do give us a good fight, I expect us to leave London with a W. And what I will say is that if you are a European Broncos fan, mile high salute to you. I appreciate you watching me from all the way across the pond. But bring the thunder, man. The Broncos have such a great international fan base that, make it a home game, because honestly, the Jets don't really have that distinct of a fan base like anywhere throughout. Like, even the Giants are the more popular New York team, and I feel like they don't really have that great of a fan base either. But listen, my overall prediction, I think we'll make it 4-2. I think we'll come out of London 4-2. And like I said, they're on the up and up. I'd be excited if I was a Jets fan. You got our boy Darren Moogie, who fired Aaron Rodgers and made him fly all the way to New York to tell him that. So, yes, I love you, Darren Moogie. And the Jets, they're our second favorite team, but the Jets offense will probably suck next year. That's just me being completely honest. Fields deep balls to Garrett Wilson might be pretty cool, but I think we'll get this one. So, yeah. Week 7 against the Giants. All right. So this is a potential equalizer, not having a bye after London. Like, if this were any other week during the year, if this were literally any other circumstantial game, I would be like, the Broncos are going to win this game 42-0. The Giants, they don't have a lot going for them. Like, they have a decent core, like personnel-wise, but they just can't get anything out of it. Their coaching is bad. Their locker room culture is non-existent. Like, to be completely honest, there's a reason that I come on my channel and I always say that the Giants are the new Browns. And by the way, the Giants have the toughest schedule in the NFL this upcoming year, and I can legitimately only see them winning 4 games on their schedule because all their winnable games are on the road. All their even winnable games, I'm even considering us in that winnable category, are the Broncos, the Raiders, the Patriots, and the Saints. Those are the 4 games the Giants might be able to win. You have 6 games against the NFC East. You have the NFC North. You have the AFC North. So if you're a Giants fan, things are not looking good for you. Things are not looking up for you as well. So listen, the Giants' defensive line, it is not to be messed with. Abdul Carter could come in and be an instant game changer for the New York Giants. And putting him next to Dexter Lawrence, Darius Alexander, Brian Burns, that's going to be a really, really tough matchup for any offensive line. But to be completely honest, that team is terrible. Once again, whether it's Dart, whether it's Jameis, whether it's Russell Wilson, we should tee off. The Giants' offensive line is horrible. It's always been horrible in the modern era of the NFL, talking like 2017 and beyond or so. But yeah, so my overall prediction is 5-2. Like any other week, I'd feel pretty good about a blowout, especially because last year when the NFC teams did come to town, when the overmatched NFC teams came to town, we took care of business and we absolutely punched them in the mouth. But not with these circumstances. Like, I still think we'll win. I don't think it'll be as much as I had initially penciled in when I saw we were playing the Giants next year. Week 8, we've got the Cowboys. And once again, I want to see Bo Nix and Sean Payton drop their nuts on this Dallas defense. Could you imagine the storylines if we were to come out and Bo Nix were to pass for like 300 yards and throw for 4 touchdowns? I would love that. And I want Mims to go nuts versus his favorite team growing up. He said it many times during interviews that he was a Dallas fan when he was growing up. But guess what? Now that it's time to play against your hometown team, this would be absolutely fantastic. And yeah, Dak, CD, and Pickens, they just don't have the mental fortitude to play against a defense as tough as ours. And also, the Dallas run game is terrible. Like, I'm pretty sure their RB1 going into next year is Javonte Williams. So, yeah, we don't really got to worry about the run game too much. And, we have a massive, massive coaching advantage in each matchup. Schottenheimer is still an unproven head coach, but, I'll take my chances with Sean Payton. I can't remember who their offensive coordinator is, but, yeah. So, to be completely honest, with our amazing coaching staff, I just think that we're just going to completely overmatch them. I know that Nick Sorensen, I think, is their special teams coordinator, and he was a horrible, horrible coach for the 49ers last year. So, once again, we have the upper hand in that regard as well. And I just don't think that Dak, CD, and Pickens, Pickens did give Surtain a lot of trouble last year. I'm not going to take that away from him. But I look at the other guys on the Cowboys, and I'm just like, do they really excite me? Like, do I really think that they're going to be that good heading into next year? I definitely don't think they're going to have to beat us. That's all I'm trying to say. And overall, my overall prediction is 6-2. There are plenty of times over the past few years, number of years, where the Cowboys should have beaten us. They have not beaten us in 30 years. And guess what? Even though we play them every 4 years, there are so many times. Like 2021, their team was like 12-4 that year. We came in completely undermanned, and we ran them out of their own stadium. So it's not happening this year either. Mile High is going to be rocking while Dak gets sacked 5 times. That's my prediction. Week 9 at the Houston Texans. So listen, Houston's a very, very good team. Like, despite them not playing well for a lot of last year, despite the fact that they had a lot of O-line troubles, despite the fact that they had, some issues on the offensive side of the ball, their defense is very, very good. And when you're a unit coached by D'Amico Ryans, and he had that unit playing as hard as they did throughout the entirety of the year, despite the fact that the offense really wasn't pulling their weight, I mean, that kind of says it all. Now, the funny thing about Houston is that they don't really invest in the offensive line. Like, their philosophy is just get as many weapons as possible for C.J. Stroud. And hey, I respect the hustle. I respect the hustle as well because they drafted Jalen Noel and Jaden Higgins as well this past year. And obviously, they have Nico Collins. Now, Tank Dell, it looks like he legitimately may have needed his leg to be amputated at some point, but I don't know. I don't think he's going to play in this game. Like, I think his injury was way too bad. But you've got C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins and Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel, who are 2 rookies, fighting up against Surtain, Barron, Moss, Jaquan McMillan, and a bunch of other dudes in our secondary. That's going to be absolute cinema, and I am very, very excited for that. But I think the one thing I think we're lacking in this matchup is the Texans' defense is just so good. It's so good in all areas of playing defense. Like, they have a good run defense, they have a good pass rush, and they have a great secondary. Last year, their secondary, best in EPA per play. Second was ours. So, yeah. By the way, when we played them 2 years ago, Derek Stingley and Will Anderson both absolutely wrecked us. So, yeah, with that, I'm going to give the edge to Houston. Like, even though I think we are a better team than Houston, I think I would take us in a vacuum over Houston in a neutral field. I don't think that we're going to do that in Houston. I know that 2 years ago, the entire stadium was rocking with Broncos fans, but once again, there's still that element of travel. There's still that element of, familiarity. And I think that the Houston Texans will come to play against us because they always come to play against interconference rivals. So, yeah, just look at the playoff game last year against the Chargers. So, yeah, I think Houston's D will just be too tough for us, especially on the road. Week 10 against the Raiders on Thursday Night Football. So, the Raiders defense, it has some work to do. But guess what? They have Brock Bowers and they have Ashton Genty, 2 of the best young playmakers in the game at any position. A tight end who literally broke every franchise record for a franchise as historic and as prestigious as the Raiders. Don't hate me. Like, let's be honest. It's a very historic and prestigious franchise. And the fact that Brock Bowers tied a lot of franchise records and broke a lot of franchise records and broke the record for rookie receptions at the tight end position. He's insane. He's insane. And guess what? You add Ashton Jeanty to the mix. I know that there were a lot of people saying, Jeanty overrated in my comment section, but listen, Jeanty is very, very good. He went 6th overall for a reason. That being said, even though they have Brock Bowers and they do have Ashton Jeanty and Carroll and Geno, they raised the floor of the team. They're not to where we are yet. Their O-line sucks, and Geno Smith is also kind of a mid-quarterback. Like, if he has a bad game, he has a really bad game. He has shown up when he's played us, because he's played us 2 times now in the past 3 years, and he has shown up. I will give him that to his credit, but listen, I think now that he's in the division, I think our mentality is going to be a lot different. I think we're going to figure out ways to attack him, and yeah, Max Crosby also always seems to go off against us. Like, even this past year, that Week 13, Week 12 game, when the Raiders had nothing to play for, it felt like he was kind of disrupting our offense for a lot of that game. And containing him will obviously be important. Finding ways to not let him dismantle you, that will obviously be very important as well. But you know what? I think we have, since we have this game at home and it is a short week, I think we just win. I think we win. And, Pete Carroll, Geno Smith, like I said, they raised the floor of the team, but we are just a better overall team right now. Week 11 against the Kansas City Chiefs. So exercising the demons against Kansas City, it is very important for this Broncos team for a number of reasons. First of all, obviously the division. Like, Kansas City has had mind control over the AFC West since 2016. And those first 2 years were not even with Patrick Mahomes. They were with Alex Smith, who was mid at best. And listen, we know our defense will show up. We know our defense always shows up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Vance Joseph has challenged Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid in some very, very creative ways over the past few years, even going back to when he was our head coach. We always seem to do decently well against them defensively. But listen, our offense and our special teams, it usually is what lets us down against Kansas City. So if we can show up on offense, if we can show up on special teams, then I think we have as good of a chance at beating Kansas City as anybody else this year. And like I said, offensively, Kansas City, I'm talking about their offense, they are not what they used to be. Like, they've taken so many steps back, and they play like that possession style. They play the short yardage game. Like, that offense is not bad. It's just boring. But I think our defense gets it done against them. I think, with the mini bye week, with the fact that we are going to be a well-rested unit, with the fact that we have this is the final stretch of those 4 out of 5 games that we have at home after London. I think that that's going to play into our favor, and I think that Patrick Mahomes will not know what's coming for him that day as well. All right, Week 12, we have a bye week, so just enjoy this picture of Dre Greenlaw sleeping on a road trip wearing a Peyton Manning shirt next to his adopted sister. This was uploaded by his foster father to Instagram, so yeah, enjoy. Week 13, Commanders, Sunday Night Football. So Daniels versus Knicks on Sunday Night Football. Like, these dudes have been getting compared for years, especially because Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix were the same college recruiting class. And, they didn't match up, I don't think, in college. Maybe they did, but unless Jaden Daniels played Arizona State, or unless Jaden Daniels played Auburn while Bo Nix was there, I don't think they actually matched up. But they've been getting compared to one another for years. I go back to the 2023 Heisman Trophy debate between these two. Obviously, Daniels at LSU, Nix at Oregon. And last year, during the Rookie of the Year debate, when everybody was saying Daniels or Nix. And yes, Daniels eventually did end up squeaking it out. Or I wouldn't even say he squeaked it out. He deserved it wholeheartedly. Well-deserved Jaden Daniels. But these two have been compared to one another for years. And it's fun to see it finally come to light. And I'm excited to see what our defense is going to look like against Jaden Daniels. Because Jaden Daniels, he's a superhuman. It seems like all these quarterbacks, all these wide receivers, that come into the NFL now, that get drafted in the top 10, they are absolutely cracked. And Jaden Daniels is a part of that as well. And this is another one where I think, since the Commanders' defense really is not that good, I think the offense will show up. I think it'll ball out. And yeah. But Daniels is a superhuman. And if there's one game where I could see our defense struggling with, it's this one. This will be an interesting chess match because this is Vance Joseph against Cliff Kingsbury, 2 guys who went head-to-head in practice every day for 4 years. So I'm interested to see this one. And my overall prediction, I think we drop this one. It's too tough of a contest, especially late in the year, going to the East Coast, for me to say that we will win, especially when, there's all those other circumstances as well. It wouldn't surprise me if we pulled this out, but I just can't project it. I can't project it for the sake of this video. And week 14, we've got the Raiders again. So not too much different from our first bullet points. Like obviously Bowers, demon, Genty, demon. But I think we sweep unless the Raiders take a big jump, which is a possibility. I could see them very well being like a 6-11, 7-10 team, and then them being like, all right, next year is the year we're gonna really go for this thing. This is another one where I just think the offense will show up and ball out. I just think it's too much of a mismatch, our offense against their defense. Even though they have Max Crosby, even though they have quite a few dogs on the defensive side of the ball, I think with the losses of Trayvon Merrick, with the losses of Spillane, I think they lost a lot of leadership on that defense. So it remains to be seen how they respond to stuff like that as well. And one thing I will say, I'm going to try to go to this game. I used to live in Vegas, like not even a year ago. I lived in Vegas, and I moved back in September to Colorado. But Las Vegas is Broncos country. I remember I met so many Broncos fans throughout my time there. And guess what? The fact that the entire stadium is going to be rocking in orange and blue, that makes me feel really, really good about our chances as well. So yeah, that's just another thing. If you are an out-of-state Broncos fan, make sure you can attend a game or two, because we could really, really use your support at these games as well. But yeah, I do feel uneasy about projecting a sweep, especially against a Pete Carroll coach team. Like you already know, if we beat them in the first contest, he's going to be circling this. He's going to be like, all right, they're going to put a lot of their energy towards this game in particular, but we can do it. We can do it. We did it this past year, even though Allegiant Stadium and the Raiders in particular had our number previously. Not anymore. That's all I got to say. Week 15 versus the Green Bay Packers. But Jordan Love, he regressed this past year for a multitude of reasons. First of all, he literally tore his knee in half in the first game of the year. I have no idea how he was able to come back and still play quarterback at certain points this year after Malik Willis had taken over. I have no idea how Love was able to still be on the field after that. But Jordan Love is still a really, really good quarterback. And, a lot of the shortcomings for Green Bay last year were not his fault. The offensive line played pretty porous. Like, even in their playoff game, the entire rest of the team just completely let him down because they were getting dumb penalties. Like, his receiving room of Wicks, Reed, and, there's a bunch of other guys there. Bo Melton. There's somebody else I'm forgetting who they did a really good job. I don't know. I just remember they did a really good job drafting a lot of weapons in 2023. Oh, yes, Tucker Kraft. That's another dude. But a lot of those guys seemed to take a step back last year compared to what they had done previously. And this is one where I'd like to see us play a grind clock game and force Green Bay into mistakes. This is going to be a game where it's important to get out to that early lead. So they can't just ram Josh Jacobs down our throats like we had gotten so used to seeing as Broncos fans throughout the past few years. But yeah, this is our revenge game against Josh Jacobs. Will we be up for the task? I mean, I hope so. I certainly hope so. But my overall prediction is that we do pull this one out. They'll be tough. They'll be hungry as well because the NFC North is a very, very competitive division, and they will do their best to come out of Mile High City with a W. But we have mental fortitude, and anytime a team has come in hungry against us, we have not let it shy away from what we're supposed to do. So yeah, this will be a good one. This will be a very, very good one. I'm expecting this to be America's Game of the Week on Fox or whatever, and I expect a lot of eyes to be on this one. But you know what? I think we can do it. I think our defense will just be way too much for Jordan Love to handle. And by the way, I didn't even mention this once yet, but Matthew Golden, he could be a very, very, very tough assignment. But guess what? We have a guy who practiced against Matthew Golden every single day for 4 years. Wink, wink. So week 16 against the Jaguars. This offense for Jacksonville, I'm telling y'all, like you guys might laugh at me, but Jacksonville's offense is going to be very, very hard to play against. And listen, we have Liam Cohen with Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, Bashal Toot and Tank Bigsby. I like all those guys. And, that'll be a very dynamic offense. But guess what? Vance Joseph, he matched up against Cohen spectacularly last year. Granted, Sean Payton, you knew he was going to bring it against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He always does. He still is hanging on to a lot of those things from the NFC South. That's why we did so well against the NFC South last year. But regardless, Trevor Lawrence, he was not the prospect we were promised, but I could still see him playing at a very high level, especially when you're surrounded by these dudes. And listen, we have more juice offensively than they do defensively to get this especially for them to get this done on the road in December. It's very well within the possibility and outcome that they're like not even close to a playoff spot at this point. So I could see us getting this done. I could easily see us getting this done against Jacksonville. Now, Travis Hunter return game, I mean, you never know what that could do for a guy as well. Maybe he completely takes over the game. But even if that does happen, I mean, I still think we're going to go 11-4. Yeah, the Jaguars, they're just a year away. Our time is now when it comes to these sorts of things. And once again, our defense, even with Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, Facial Tootin, and all those guys, we matched up so well against them as well. Week 17 against the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. So you're not really expected to win. I don't think anybody is really expecting the Broncos to win this game, especially because I think our overall record in Kansas City in December as a franchise is like 3-17. So yeah, just the fact that this is on Christmas and just the fact that this is, going to be an Arrowhead, the stadium's going to be rocking, it's going to be cold out there. To come in here and sneak out win, especially because this could be monumental in a playoff race, in a playoff seeding race, or a division title race, that would be incredible. And that would easily be the most exhilarating win for years for this team. But right now, I can't project that. I can't project that for a multitude of reasons. I think the chop might be a little too overwhelming for us. I think Spagnuolo did a really nice job against the Broncos last year. I think, even though we had a bunch of counterpunches, our offense really went limp in that game, and we just really, really were inconsistent outside of our scoring drives. We should have won, man. That's all I'm going to say is that still irks me that we didn't win. But I just don't think we're going to win this game. Arrowhead is a house of horrors for us, and if we can win this game, then I will come up here and I will be like, I would love to announce to the NFL world that I was wrong with what I had said about this Broncos-Chiefs game when I originally saw it was scheduled for Christmas night. But oh, well, win some, you lose some. Week 18 against the Chargers. So January 3rd or 4th, 2026. Time is to be determined. Like, they are pretty flexible with all these once college season is over. But we're good enough to where we can split against the Chargers. Like, we played them very competitively in the second game this past year. We almost caught up to them in the first game, even though that was never really within reach. But we should have won the second game. And listen, we'll bounce back against the Chargers. Like, even though this will have made it like almost 2 calendar years since we had beaten the Chargers, if we do lose them week 3 like I had projected originally. Yeah, I think we'll take care of business. And listen, week 18 is very hard to predict. Like, we could have something wrapped up, the Chargers could have something wrapped up, but we'll just assume that this is business as usual. We'll just assume that, both teams are playing for something, even if it isn't meaningful as meaningful as we expect. They're still both going to want to try to win. Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh, both hyper competitive dudes, especially when it comes to facing their own division as well. So my overall prediction is 12-5. We should have held on to the lead last year on Thursday Night Football, like I said, but this time we'll get it done. Even though they have Hampton and Najee and they're going to run completely over us, and Justin Herbert and Lab McConkey and Trey Harris and all those weapons, and now Oronde Gadsden, who is one of my personal favorites in the draft. The trench play from both these teams is very, very strong. And you know what? I think we split. I think we go 1-1 against the Chargers. So here are my overall thoughts. So I didn't think I would predict 12-5. Like a couple months ago when I saw our opponents, I was just like, okay, I kind of see 10-7. But I thought that would be along the lines of what I'd be predicting because forward steps record-wise aren't guaranteed. Progression is not linear in the NFL. Even if they went 10-7 this past year and had done it more convincingly than they did last year, it's still the same overall record. But we could very, very well go undefeated at home. Like, that's my thing, is that I love this schedule because I feel like we have a legit chance of going undefeated at home. Now, will it happen? Probably not, because it's hard to go 9-0 in literally any stretch of games in the NFL. But especially when you have Green Bay, Cincinnati, the Chiefs, and the Chargers. But it is well within the realm of possibility. The other 5 games I'm not scared about at all. And listen, I feel really good about this team and defense in general. Expectations should be high. And I think I have a better idea of our defense versus an opposing offense rather than the other way around. The offense is still unproven. It has a lot of exciting elements, but, it's still unproven in a lot of areas. And yeah, so I just want to say thank you all for sticking with me to the end. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're not already. And yeah, now we just got to look forward to training camp. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. Peace.